can't really exist restricted to their bedrooms for 14 days. I mean, that's unreasonable.
Hey,
That's
Paul,
a prohibition.
excuse me, Paul.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you have the 2 public comment.
Yes, I have them on my screen.
Okay. And we are trying, Gary, I guess at this point is just trying to get us live on YouTube. Once we are live, then we should kind of just be all aware that we're live.
Yes.
We're live now.
To use your words, we have to act professionally. No inside jokes or comments that the public would not be able to follow.
On the grounds it might incriminate us.
It might incriminate us. And remember, they don't know us. So
exactly.
We don't want to give them the wrong impression.
So I'm not looking at YouTube. I think Frank's monitoring YouTube. Do you see us live now, Frank, on YouTube?
Oh, okay.
And Gary, would you also make sure you hit the record button so we're recording it as well?
I'm sorry, we're live now, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Gay.
Hi, Murda.
And I just mentioned that Gary, we need to hit the record button so that we're also recording so that it stays live.
Okay, that's good. Our official start time is 10 o'clock, so we're waiting the arrival of more members, especially the mandated members from the state agencies. They're usually reliably present, so we'll wait till 10 o'clock.
So the other piece, Paul, is that Frank and Kyoko will be monitoring YouTube. So I'm going to text you along with them so that if they get anything on the YouTube for comment, that they will be putting it in this text. So you'll be able to check the text throughout the meeting.
Okay. All right. Let me go to my. Yeah, I've got 2 iPads and a computer and a Chromebook. So I think I've got enough screens.
Okay. So I'm texting a group text now so that we'll be able to keep the YouTube comments here. Okay. Want to confirm that you saw that, Paul? And then
yes,
good.
Just came up on my screen.
Awesome. Those are our checkpoints.
Yes. Well, we have 2 for the opening comment period, and hopefully we'll get some more during the meeting for the closing comment period.
Yeah, the one related to DDD I did forward to John this morning.
Okay, good.
It's kind of hard to respond to something when you don't have any opportunity to see it on your.
Yeah, it's not fair to him. He needs time to consider what's being asked or commented on. And I hope that members of the public will realize that we welcome their comments during the meeting, and I will read any comment that is received at the public comment period towards the end of the meeting. And we can direct the comment to any state official who is present. Oh, I see Rebecca has returned from the beach.
Okay.
Yeah, sadly.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, Murda.
How are you?
Hi, Rebecca.
I am good. Hi, Todd.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can't complain.
Good.
See, I only see 11 of us right now on my screen.
Okay.
Ah. Okay, Elizabeth is connecting on audio. I hope everything is going well with her daughter's ortho appointment. And good morning, Kara.
Morning.
Okay, Bob, Maria, and Jody are with us. Good to see you all.
Hey, Bob.
Hey.
There.
Hey, Bob.
Hello. How are you?
I have to
Hey,
compliment
Bob.
all the committee chairs. The committee reports were all very well done, informative, and complete, which will help us because we have a long agenda. So it's advantageous if those reports can go out in writing, so we don't have to take time having the committee chairs give an oral report. It's, I mean, absolutely essential that we pass the draft 5-year plans that can be posted for public comment. Ms. Mercedes has pointed out the time frame is very compressed here because we have to have 45 days of public comment. Then we have to respond to the public comments. We have to send it to the state for their approval, and then to the feds in August. And the staff, Mercedes and the rest of the staff, actually has to come up with a plan to implement the 5-year plan starting October 1st. So October 1st is really the start, not the end of the process. And hopefully we will have completed all our commitments over the 5 years. I've got 9:58. Oh, there's Brenda. Walt is here. Brenda's here.
Kevin is here. I'm on the phone. My Zoom link did not want to work.
Okay. Jackie is here. Hi, Jackie. Walt, it's great to see you. Back at a meeting. Joyce Jelly has joined us. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Joyce.
Okay, we're up to 21, so we're doing well.
Yeah. For some reason, my link to the conference doesn't want to work for the actual Zoom link, so I had to call in.
Oh.
It says that the host is still waiting to start the meeting, which is obviously not true.
You may want to just close that, if you have it through an appointment or an email, close it, reopen it, and try it again. Kevin, it's happened to me a couple of times. Yeah. You did that already?
I'll try it again. I'll call back if it doesn't work. I'll call it back. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it is 10 o'clock, so I think I'd like to get started if that's okay. Welcome everybody to the first quarterly meeting this year of the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities. I will start by reading the Public Meeting Act because this is a public meeting and I want the requirements of public meeting to be clear to everyone. The basic statement of our state policy on public meetings is pursuant to the New Jersey Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6. Never gotten that response to the Public Meeting Act before. The statute provides, quote, "It is hereby declared to be the policy of this state that the formation of public policy is public business and may not be conducted in secret. Every meeting of a public body shall be open to the public in order that citizens may exercise their democratic privilege of attending and speaking at meetings of public bodies, except as otherwise provided by the Constitution of the state of New Jersey, federal statutes, and the Open Meetings Act," end of quotations. Notice of the meeting was filed with the Trenton Times and the Star Ledger newspapers. I will now read the vision of the council. All individuals with developmental disabilities are contributing members of their neighborhoods and communities. make real choices, and have control over their own lives, have the freedom to strive, excel, and make mistakes, are in a position to achieve personal goals, are in a position to affect policy and process decisions that affect their lives, and have the same rights, privileges, responsibilities, and opportunities of citizenship as does any other New Jersey resident. At this point, I think our next action is to approve the November minutes. If anybody has a comment on the minutes, that is in order. If not, I will ask for someone to move that the minutes be approved.
I
Was that Gary?
No, Todd.
Todd, okay, Todd, because we need to have on the record who moved the motion. Can I ask for a second?
Right here, second.
Thank you, Gary. So that was Todd and Gary. I hope everybody has their paddles, but I'm not sure. So you can either hold up your paddles or raise your hands if you vote to approve the minutes. And I'll wait for Jacinta to take the vote count.
Oh, we are good.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Let me move on then. There are two public comments. Let me read them in the order in which they were submitted. The first one comes from Emma Anderson. She is with the Passaic County Parents of Adults with Developmental Disabilities. And her comment reads, "My comment is about supporting our DSPs who serve our adults with developmental disabilities in these challenging times and at many other times. Families and individuals with disabilities simply cannot make it without DSPs. DSPs deserve to be considered essential workers, frontline staff, and A1 priority for vaccines. They also need a professional status, a career to advance and receive all the training and support they deserve. Please remind everyone in NJCDD and in the New Jersey legislature about these wonderful men and women who help our adults with developmental disabilities. Best regards, Emma Anderson." Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson. Certainly your comments are very much in keeping with the professed advocacy of the council. And we appreciate your following NJCDD and offering your advice and suggestions. This is something that we believe in very, very strongly. So thank you. Let me go to the second comment. This was submitted by Joan Migden, who many of us know. Joan was a long-term member of Regional Family Support Council number 3. Let me go to that. This is directed to the council. My daughter attended the day program at Mount Bethel in Warren County starting in May of 2017. She enjoyed swimming, horseback riding, and outings into the community, including shopping and manicures. She participated in socially and educationally stimulating activities which reinforced life skills and communication skills. She had inspiring relationships with the staff and her peers. Since attending this dynamic program, her conversational skills had increased noticeably. She was happy, enjoying the structure and the social interactions. Last March, all day programs shut down because of COVID-19, and they didn't reopen until late September. Barbara had been struggling during the shutdown. Her behavior regressed, her conversations became limited, and her smile had vanished. When the program reopened, she was so excited to be able to see her friends and enjoy some of her favorite activities again. I understand the first shutdown as there were COVID cases in the day programs and participants needed to be protected. But when Jonathan Seyfried shut down the day programs again at Thanksgiving, I was puzzled. There were no cases in the Mount Bethel program or in any other programs that I heard of after talking to other parents. The reopening date was supposed to be January 19th, but that has come and gone. When I asked Jonathan about the number of cases in the day programs, he did not provide a number, nor did he offer a benchmark for reopening the day programs. The shutdown has set my daughter back again. Her sleep schedule is disrupted, her behavior has regressed, and she is tense and frustrated. I am asking the council to step in and get involved in this situation, urging Jonathan Seafree to reopen day programs again. Only those programs that have confirmed cases with positive tests and symptoms should be shuttered. Closing programs where there are no cases of COVID is extremely detrimental to participants and their families. It is very distressing to watch my daughter struggle when the program can be opened and she can return to a more normal life. Thank you, Joan Migton. Mercedes made certain that Jonathan had access to this comment before I just read it. So I'm going to turn it over, the floor over to Jonathan for his response. Jonathan, okay, you did unmute. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the question, and I appreciate being a part of the council meeting today. We certainly do recognize the importance of the day programs for the individuals that attend them and are working to reopen them safely as soon as we can. We're working with our health partners to identify that time frame. At this point, we don't have a date, but it is something we continue to work on. Again, it's not lost on anyone the importance that the day programs provide. They provide structure, routine, socialization, and a lot of other, intangible benefits as well for those that attend them. And the closure is not meant to, aggravate, the currently detrimental situation with COVID-19 in New Jersey and across the state, across the nation. So we're committed to providing information as soon as we get it related to day program reopening, and are doing what we can to support individuals, through the closure. So, and as we get more information, we are committed to putting it right out. And again, very appreciative of the question, and it is a very legitimate one to ask.
Thank you very much for your response, Jonathan. I'd also add that you had previously indicated that when a decision is made to reopen the day programs, DDD would give providers 2 weeks to get the programs ready.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, at a minimum, yes.
Yeah. So clearly, Jonathan and DDD are on top of this and are trying to do this as safely as possible, I think is fair to say. Thank you, Jonathan. Okay. Before turning this over to the committee reports, I just want to indicate that the two focuses, or foci, I guess is the plural, of this meeting are: number one, the draft of the 5-year plan. It's absolutely essential that this be approved so that it can be released for a 45-day public comment period. And I want to make it quite clear that that is a very important part of the process. We invite and we welcome comments from the public. At the end of the 45-day period, we will evaluate all the comments that come in. They will be read by several people, and we will make whatever adjustments to the 5-year plan that seem advisable. So please, I encourage anybody who is on the live feed now, or anybody else who follows us, please review the 5-year plan. It should be released early next week for public comment, and your comments are welcome. The second focus of the meeting is one of our projects from last year. This was with the Supportive Housing Association and its executive director, Diane Riley. It's a very exciting project, Housing Navigator. It was a wonderful proposal that Shaw submitted to us. We were very eager to have this done. The Housing Navigators will be trained people who can help developers and families come together and increase the supply of housing and increase the likelihood that individuals and their families can find appropriate housing for them. So those are the two key things. The committee reports were all submitted in writing, so we're just really going to take questions if people have them about what they read in the committee reports rather than having people read the reports. So let's go to Helen to introduce the 5-year plan.
Hello, everybody. I apologize. I don't sound too great. I hopefully over COVID, but I'm not sure yet. Won't know till tomorrow. Anyway, there's been a lot of work done on this 5-year plan. Brenda Considine has put a tremendous amount of time and effort into this, and our ad hoc committee has, led by Sophia, has really come through very nicely. Brenda, is there anything that you want to say about the 5-year plan? We already know that we need to approve it. We need that 45 days for review. Let's turn it over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Helen. Is my audio okay? I apologize. I'm working with a handheld. Can people hear me?
Your speech is kind of spread out and slurred a bit.
It is.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Brenda.
I mean, it's like an old record being played at the wrong speed.
You're breaking up, Brenda. Your bandwidth might be low.
Is my audio working? Can people hear me?
Now it's good.
Now you're better.
All right.
You're breaking up again.
Yeah,
Brenda.
you are.
I'm breaking up. Okay. Let me. Okay. Literally walking around trying to share her screen with. Is it any? Okay.
That's better, Brun.
Can't hear me.
Now,
Right?
not so much.
Breaking up again.
Try exiting the meeting and coming back.
Better. Okay. So if my audio continues to go out, I will.
That's sounding too good.
Yeah, so Brenda, it's not coming in. I think that maybe it makes sense while Brenda is trying to find another location that perhaps I take us on a walk through. We can't hear you, Brenda.
Another location and another hot spot. Can you hear me?
So Brenda, we can't hear you. So I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Mercedes, I think, yes, you should take over.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can all hear you fine.
Okay. So, we just went through this yesterday with the state plan committee. We had over an hour meeting reviewing a draft that was reviewed at our council retreat. Again, compiling information.
I'm gonna.
I think Brenda is trying desperately to make her system work. Okay, so I will walk us through and won't do nearly as good of job of getting us through the history part of this, but I am sharing my screen. The information that was presented at our retreat and again at the State Plan Committee yesterday includes a set of draft goals and objectives, taking into consideration input that was gathered for the last 7-8 months, where we used an online survey, public hearings and comments, focus groups, and discussions. We took information both electronically, via phone messages, faxes, any way in which people could initially contribute. We also know that in that contribution of input, We learned ways in which we can expand and broaden outreach efforts, and that has been something in the process that we've understood about the ways of engagement at the council. The area of highlight that the public gave us was around employment, housing, health, transportation, advocacy and leadership, quality assurance, and language access and cultural competence. Using that public input data, we've ultimately taken that along with New Jersey data and research and information to determine the areas of needs. And so now we will present the draft or proposed 5-year plan. The first area, a goal area, is around advocacy. At the retreat, you'll see here the highlighted items in yellow reflect items that were added at the retreat from the initial proposed draft. And then the areas highlighted in green are areas that were added just yesterday at the state plan committee meeting. So that would be new information to what came through at the retreat about 2 weeks ago. I'll just walk through this, but you hopefully all can see it on your screen. So emphasis added to all New Jersey residents with IDD and their family members throughout the lifespan will have increased access to information in order to learn and strengthen the advocacy and leadership skills that they need to be self-directed from an early age, manage supports and services, and engage as citizens with agency over their own lives.
I'm at a disabilities meeting.
Okay. If you are not speaking and you want to be on mute, that would help us get through the rest of this. So please mute yourself, or Jay would be happy to help you mute your video audio. So that's the first goal. Under that goal, there are 4 objectives that also appear on your screen. There have been no changes to the first one, which is that each year through 2026, that's the period of this plan, 2022 through 2026, NJCDD will increase civic engagement and self-direction on the part of individuals with IDD by providing support and technical assistance to a statewide self-advocacy organization, providing leadership training opportunities, promoting emerging leaders with IDD as trainers and speakers, and supporting and expanding participation of individuals with IDD in culturally diverse cross-disability leadership coalitions. That is the first objective. Any comments?
This is Kevin. I just wanted to reiterate, as one of the people who was at the meeting yesterday, one of the reasons why we added the words through the lifespan was because disability affects every part of an individual's life, so it felt crucial to add those words.
Thank you, Kevin. The second objective for each year through 2026, NJCDD, in collaboration with the DD Act partners, and that's Disability Rights New Jersey and the Boggs Center, and with emphasis on serving historically underserved populations, including individuals who are Black, Hispanic, Asian, and limited English proficient, will provide leadership training and mentoring to at least 20 individuals with IDD and their families, and will support projects to develop advanced leadership skills and networking opportunities for at least 2 individuals with IDD and their families through mentorships, internships, and apprenticeships in careers related to public policy and disability advocacy. Any comments on that objective?
And I think that's a great idea, Mercedes. I mean, we need more of that because there's a lot of prejudice still going around, and we need to cut down on that.
Thank you, Gary. The third objective is our first of 2 targeted disparity objectives. And this reads, by 2026, Black New Jersey residents with IDD and their families will have increased access to information about NJCDD, the DD network, and how to access the full range of supports and services available through New Jersey's system of services and supports.
I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, I don't see a problem with the goal, except that, I mean, the objective, except that in the goal, the overarching goal, we included a host of underrepresented groups. So is there a reason that we kind of laser targeted this one and didn't include, like, you know, limited English proficiency, Latino, Asian, whatever other groups that were in that original goal?
Mm-hmm. So the targeted disparity objectives, as we relate them to what the Administration on Community Living asks for plans within their 5-year plan, is to laser focus, is to demonstrate a way in which you can achieve something within a very narrow focused area, and an area that's been supported by the data as being underserved. So that was the narrowness that was included in this objective. But you're right in that the goal is a broader goal. The targeted disparity drills it down, and then our activities will further drill down the ways in which to meet these objectives over the next 5 years.
I would just add that I think the council totally agrees with what Peg is saying. This is being written in response to what guidelines we've received from Washington. It does not preclude us from taking a broader approach, which is what we intend to do. This is just to meet the requirements of the feds, and it doesn't prevent us from taking a broader view.
Any further comment?
I would also like to add that we are voting to release this to the public. This is in no way final, so this can also be corrected or amended later on within the next 45 days.
Sophia?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I'd also like to add that, Peg, your observations are absolutely right. It is very difficult looking at disenfranchisement and determining which group is more disparaged than another. I mean, disparity is disparity, and it all should be addressed and abolished. One thing in our discussion that we found in our discussion with the ad hoc committee on equal access, it's important to reflect on the fact that when you systemically address the needs of one disenfranchised group, that doesn't necessarily support the needs of another group. But we have found historically that when you address the needs of Black individuals in particular, that there is a benefit to other individuals. So that's really important to note as well, that addressing these needs of Black residents will ensure that the needs of other marginalized residents are addressed as well.
Thank you, Sophia. Peg, do you want to respond or have any further thoughts on that?
I gave you my thoughts. I think we're going to have a good answer, especially when it's released publicly as well. I don't disagree that it's an important group to target and focus. It seems kind of stark with the overarching goal is, to me, but that's all I have to say.
Any other comments?
Can I just remind public attendees, you can, again, you can submit comments either in writing for the public comment period, or you can comment up to the end of this meeting. And if you send something in, it will be read before the meeting is over.
And if I could just have it do a check-in with staff. I was trying to monitor a couple things here, and I see that there may be some issues with the YouTube comment line. Can I get some update on that, Gary?
I went in and reset it. I haven't confirmed whether or not the comments are available now.
Okay.
Maybe,
So if you're having trouble commenting on YouTube, if you would please email Gary Brown at njcdd.org. Gary can make sure that he forwards those over to us.
That would be Gary.Brown.
So it's Gary.Brown at njcdd.org. And Gary, if you could put your contact information somehow on that YouTube link, that would also be helpful. We apologize if YouTube is not cooperating this morning. Okay, so the fourth objective within this goal is centers around technology. By 2026, NJCDD will support projects to decrease barriers in access to technology and internet access connectivity for individuals with IDD and their families. Any comments? Okay. The second goal has 5 objectives, and they focus around systems change. The goal is that all New Jersey citizens with IDD and their families and stakeholders will have increased ability to improve the design of delivery of the services, both specialized and generic, intended to support and benefit them. Objectives include through 2026, NJCDD will facilitate government and community partnerships and improve interagency coordination through collaborations and coalitions in order to reduce barriers to service access and delivery, with an emphasis on reducing inequities experienced by historically underserved populations, including individuals who are Black, Hispanic, Asian, and limited English proficient. Any comments there?
This is Kevin. One of the reasons why I suggested English proficient is because it could also rope in the individuals who cannot communicate verbally. So it covers both non-English speaking verbally and those who cannot communicate verbally as well.
Thanks, Kevin. Any other comment? The second objective, by 2026, NJCDD, in collaboration with community partners, will develop and implement comprehensive public awareness and outreach campaign to highlight and promote the skills, abilities, and needs of people with IDD and educate communities on ways in which generic community services can be made more appropriate, accessible, and responsive to the needs of people with IDD and their families. I see Sophia has a hand raised. Sophia.
Thank you, Mercedes. This is Sophia. It's not necessarily specific to the objective that you just read. I'm getting a text messages from a couple of families who are also asking about the YouTube, and I just quickly wanted to recommend, can we ask that public members who want to comment towards the end of the meeting, can they go to our NJCDD Facebook page and make a comment and specify that the comment is referencing today's DD Council meeting, so that way they can still have their voices heard?
Yeah, Sophia, that's a good point. You know, whatever is easiest, I guess, for people to comment. For the second public comment, you certainly can email, if you have access to email gary.brown@njcdd.org. Or if you, Gary, can you also monitor the Facebook page? If comments come through there, the NJCDD Facebook page.
And if they preface that this is a comment specifically for the DD Council meeting, then that'll allow us to address it. Just my recommendation. I have about 3 text messages here, so I just wanted to make sure that people know that they have
Okay.
the opportunity to have their voices heard.
Gary, can you just confirm that you can access the Facebook page and your email address, please?
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
I'm still working on the YouTube issue. It would be great if someone else could access the Facebook page and monitor that. Still
Okay.
trying to work through the YouTube issue.
Okay, Kyoko, can you confirm that you can monitor the Facebook page for NJCDD?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have Gary's email address again, gary.brown@njcdd.org, and NJCDD's Facebook page. Please use those 2 places to comment throughout this meeting on anything for the second public comment period, or any comments as we continue through the remainder of the meeting that will be pulled up at the end of the meeting. Okay, we're having our share of technical difficulties today. I think that's enough. So thank you for your patience and cooperation here. I apologize. So the next objective that I would like to read through is, I believe we're on number 3, formal and informal community supports. By 2026, NJCDD, in collaboration with family members, advocates, and those providing natural supports, will work to remove barriers and redesign systems in order, to improve, simplify, and expand the system of formal and informal supports for caregivers of children and adults with IDD. Any comment there?
Actually, yeah, I would like to see a goal of getting rid of the developmental centers and so everybody has a chance to live somewhat of a normal life, because that's what we've been working on forever.
Thank you for that comment, Gary. That is not part of this system change specifically. Any other comments to Gary's comment?
We can work on that with the advocacy goal and kind of develop that with advocacy and develop an advocacy plan towards DCs. As for, we don't have to write that in the plan itself, but we can work on that in the future.
Number 4, healthcare. By 2026, in collaboration with families and community agencies, NJCDD will provide information and support projects designed to increase the capacity of New Jersey's behavioral healthcare system to meet and respond to the mental health and dual diagnosis needs of individuals with IDD and their families, including those in urban and rural areas of the state. Any comment there? And I can't see all of your, like, if you've got your hand raised, I can't see that. So just unmute yourself if I don't recognize you, because I can't see you waving your hands frantically at me. Okay. All right. Then next, the 5th objective, throughout the grant period, NJCDD will monitor and respond to emerging issues and trends impacting individuals with IDD and their families through collaboration, information, technical assistance, outreach, special projects, and advocacy. I see Ryan Roy has his hand raised.
I believe that most of the things that those are parts of the 5-year plans and how, cultural diversity of families that's either Asian, Black, Hispanic, who are limited in English proficiency. It should really have like so much of a universal translation communicator. So that way, whatever that's, just navigating through the maps of services, either it's early intervention or special education, or even adult service systems like DDD or DV or Division of Developmental Disabilities or Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Either that would really help a lot, so that way there won't be any kind of communication barriers that's really going on, and especially in support coordination agencies, at least for those who are very proficient in speaking their language, it really would help tremendously. And also during the pandemic that we were hit last year, I believe technology, that's really equipped with assistance, it would really help individuals with IDD, intellectual or developmental disabilities, communicate their needs and wants, so that way their voices will be heard and at least they can participate in most of the meeting.
So you raised two points, Ryan, that I think we have addressed. One in the objective 3 here on providing opportunities and working to remove barriers, redesign systems in order to improve, simplify, and expand the system. And then earlier up in the first objective, first goal, the technology objective talks to your second point about supporting projects that just decrease barriers to technology. So I think we've got them both covered there, Ryan. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to make a comment.
Thanks.
So
Thank you, Ryan. Any other comments on this second goal or these objectives before we move to the third and final? Okay. Murda, did you have something to say?
No.
Okay, thanks, Murda.
You're
So
welcome.
the third goal is focused around capacity building. All New Jersey residents with IDD and their families will have increased information and supports they need to access the services and supports they need to live, work, and learn in the community with independence. These objectives, one, beginning in 2022, NJCDD will support projects and engage in outreach designed to ensure increased levels of diversity, equity, and cultural competence in all aspects of the work carried out by the council and its staff. I'll pause for any comments there. I'm just going to remind folks, because I do hear background, if you have a microphone unmuted, can you please mute if you're not speaking or if you don't intend to share at that time. Targeted disparity number 2. This is the second targeted disparity objective, focusing around quality assurance. By 2026, and in collaboration with educators and stakeholders, NJCDD will support projects using best practices designed to eliminate the inappropriate use of seclusion, restraint, suspension, and expulsion for Black and Hispanic students with disabilities in targeted areas, schools and districts with high rates of seclusion, restraint, suspension, expulsion, and/or high rates of referral to law enforcement. Can I open up any comments there?
I like the word illuminate. I think it'll actually deliver the message that we're aiming to eliminate this horrible restraint and seclusion. I think there's a good key word there.
Any other comments there?
No.
I think it should be noted that NJCDD has already been a leader in this area. Again, thanks to the leadership of PEG and the CNY committee. She's done a lot of work on the subject and has been a long-term dedicated and knowledgeable and effective advocate. So this is not new. This is something we have already been doing.
Okay, my mouse just got a little wonky
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So let me get back to this right page. Okay. Thank you, Paul. The next objective or focuses around education. By 2026, NJCDD will provide information and technical assistance designed to empower students, families, and stakeholders in identifying and delivering transition services that will align with Work First New Jersey and that can lead to supported competitive employment, post-secondary education, and/or independent living options, with an emphasis on supporting those in urban and rural areas. Any comments there? Fourth objective in this capacity building focuses around housing. By 2026, NJCDD will support projects to expand the capacity of New Jersey's system of housing and supports to serve those with complex medical and behavioral needs, including those who are aging in the community. Any comment there? For those of you listening on YouTube, again, if you are not able to comment within YouTube, then we're asking you to send an email to gary.brown@njcdd.org or NJCDD's Facebook page.
Mercedes, I did get one comment on my email account.
Okay, can we just get through the rest of the objectives here?
Sure.
Is it relate to the plan or is it a general comment?
It's a comment that relates to the plan.
Okay, so I'll defer to Paul if he's going to open up comments to the plan before we review the finish the process around the plan, or if we're going to hold that for public comment at the second public comment period.
I think I'd prefer to have you finish your run through the plan, and then we'll see how many comments we have, if we can take them all right now after you finish going through the review of the plan.
Okay, Paul.
Rather than stopping for each comment.
Okay. So we only have two objectives that remain. The second objective, the fifth objective is around healthcare. By 2026, in collaboration with community agencies, NJCDD will support projects designed to increase the capacity of New Jersey's behavioral healthcare system and respond to mental health and dual diagnosis needs of individuals with IDD, including those, I think I just read that one, in rural areas of the state. So apologies, we've already hit that one. The sixth area, employment, NJCDD will support innovative projects based on best practices to increase the number of individuals with IDD, including those with behavioral challenges, medical disabilities, and mental health issues who are engaged in supported competitive employment. So that concludes the
I gotta talk quick. I'm getting ready to get asked to do something. Hold on a minute.
Gary, you want to mute? Okay. So I do have a list here just for everyone to be able to reference the members of the State Plan Committee. Again, Helen Steinberg is the chair. Brenda Considine and I have been supporting as staff to the committee. And then the members of the committee were Paul Blaustein, Gary Rubin, Todd Emmons, Joyce Jelly, Walt Fernandez, Safia Mohammed, Kevin Nunez, Kim Murray, Gwen Orlowski, and Jody Fox is another staff who's been on the State Plan Committee. And then we do have included a list of those who have participated under Safia Mohammed's chairship as the Ad Hoc Committee on Equal Access to DD Services. I'm not going to read through this list. It's quite a long list, but you can see it appear here on your screen. And we appreciate that, those individuals on the ad hoc committee and the people in the last several months who have worked very hard on the state planning committee. So at this point, I guess we'll just ask council members for any final comments or feedback on the draft as it's presented.
Hi, can you hear me? This is Sophia.
Yes.
Okay, so it's important to note that although we have a very long, extensive list of ad hoc committee members, we had a fraction of that list in participation. And the ad hoc, we're not finished with our work in regards to advising the NJCDD on the best way, the best practices, and the best options in ensuring that there is fairness, equity, and that there is inclusion of all people with intellectual and developmental disability out in New Jersey. We certainly want to ensure that, and when I'm using the words abolish and eradicate, that's just how essential it is and how important it is to ensure that people are not discriminated against, that they're not disenfranchised, and they're not disparaged based on their race, based on the tone of their skin, based on the fact that English is not their first language, based on, of course, their disabilities as well, but being included in those groups. So having a disability and being a person who is non-white, it's really important that we continue our work, and we will be continuing our work, of course, until October 2021, as it has been advised by the chair. We'll be running concurrently with the 5-year plan, but we certainly have more advice that is to come. And I welcome all of the ad hoc committee members who are watching and who have been able to have some insight into what the goals and objectives are thus far. Please ensure that you add your comments, compose your comments. We'll be meeting next week. It's really important that we have a very intense discussion so that we can ensure that people in New Jersey with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as their caregivers and their families, are supported, that their rights are protected, and that there's equity, and that we're ensuring that people's opportunity to live their ideal lives and be self-directed, that these matters are, or these issues are respected.
Thank you, Sophia. We appreciate your passion and your commitment to equality for all people, and that clearly is the objective of the council. We welcome the opportunity to continue to work with the members of the ad hoc committee, which you have graciously agreed to lead, and attracted some wonderful members. I think we were all very much struck by the experiences that they related to us from their personal lives, and the passion and commitment that they had.
This is Kevin. Assuming this gets passed and released to public comment, I would really encourage the advocates to share it amongst their advocate circles. We really need the voices of our fellow individuals with disabilities from all spectrums of the disability community to have their opinions heard. We really need to make sure all avenues of disability are heard when it comes to this 5-year plan. So yeah, I really want to encourage everyone to share this with as many people as possible going forward.
Yes, I want to assure everyone who is present or who accesses the archived replay We really do welcome and hope to get comments from the public. That includes the viewers who are here now, that includes anybody who has an interest in what the council is doing, and certainly includes all the members of the ad hoc committee. I will just read a comment from Monique Wilson, who is a member of the ad hoc committee. Her comment is, it should be noted that although it is being portrayed that the ad hoc committee has given organized input into this document, that has not happened. We look forward to the release so concrete, true input can be given. Again, we welcome the advisory role that the ad hoc committee has been playing and will continue to play, and we hope that they will be active during the 45-day public comment period. Their work is certainly not done, nor is ours.
So at this point, in order to move the document to a formal public comment period, we would need, Jacinta would need a motion, a second, and a vote.
I'm sorry, this is Sophia. Before we move on, I just wanted to address something that's really important, not just to me personally, but it's important as we have discussed this in the ad hoc committee. The difference between equality and equity has to be emphasized. So equality can be achieved through treating everyone the same, regardless of their need. Equity achieves this through treating people differently, depending on their need. And as I listen to a lot of the address lately through various legislators, and including our Honorable Governor Murphy, equity has been emphasized, and equity has been at the forefront of many of the missions to ensure that all people are respected and all people are allowed a seat at the table, so to speak, and to eradicate and abolish disenfranchisement. So it's important to note that although the name of the ad hoc committee is Ad Hoc Committee on Equal Access, it has been our consistent discussion that we are forging forward to ensure equity for all people with individual and developmental disabilities. Thank you.
I think this is really an issue of semantics, because equal access always meant according to need. I mean, obviously, someone who walks will not be given a wheelchair. Someone who can't walk will be given a wheelchair. I would define that as both equality and equity. Each person has equal access to it depending upon their level of need. DDD does an assessment. Everybody is given a tier assignment based upon their need. Everybody gets a budget that's supposed to reflect their tier assignment and their need. They call that equal access to services based upon your need. To me, it's really semantics as to whether that is equality, which is the generally used term, or I know equity or equitable is now being used in many cases, but there have been some confusions. There are some people who say that equality refers to equal opportunity and equity refers to equal outcomes. And I'd rather that we don't get involved in that kind of semantic or political controversy. I think we know what we mean. I think we've conveyed it to people that by equality, we mean access to service based upon a person's level of need.
Thank you for your comments, Paul, and I appreciate that. And I just want you to know that our intention or our purpose as an ad hoc committee is not to be, so it's not about being politicized. It's about lived experiences as we've shared throughout our meetings. But also it's language is very, very important. And language can be subjective depending on the narrator, the orator, and also depending on the audience. Now, one way that we can be responsible and ensure that the language that we use is inclusive is by showing the commitment to evolve our cultural and professional competence. And that's really important. And we demonstrate that competence through the advocacy, which is one reason why it was so important for us as an ad hoc committee to give a certain time of our meeting to ensure that we heard the voices of the self-advocates. We would not be here without the people with disabilities, whether they're adults, whether they're children, in spite of the role of the caregiver, which is an important role. I'm a caregiver. I'm also a person living with disabilities. So the role of caregiver is important, but the voice of the self-advocate is very important, and the competence in ensuring that we are using language that makes people allows people to feel included. So this is certainly no intention to be controversial. It's no intention to be adversarial, but it's just to ensure that, although as I am the chairperson of the committee, I just want to ensure that the voice of the committee is heard. And as I heard the committee members constantly reiterating the importance of equity and the need for equity and justice for people with disabilities, I just wanted to make sure that that was addressed and that it is on the record.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I would just point out that the word equality has changed its meaning over time. When Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, he clearly didn't believe that.
I can agree with you on that.
So clearly, we have expanded what we consider the word equal to mean. But we're running almost 20 minutes behind schedule. And at this point, we really need to get a motion to approve the draft so that it can be released to the public so we can get more of these valuable comments.
So Paul, this is Gwen. I'm also move.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Can we have a second?
Kara, second.
Was that Kara?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm getting good at voice recognition now. Okay. Jacinta will need Mercedes. Yeah, I was going to say Jacinta will need to see everybody's face. If you have your paddles, you
just
can hold.
Just a second, Paul. I'd rather do it another way because my
go ahead.
is mixed up. I'd like to call everyone by name and you just tell me yes, no, or abstain.
Okay.
Okay, Paul.
Yes.
Walt Fernandez.
He has a yes paddle up.
Andrew. If you could just speak because I have 2 pages.
I'm not sure that everybody's okay, Andrew.
I can't see everybody on the
I
page.
don't see Andrew. Oh,
yes, he's there.
Yeah, he's there. Now I see him.
Okay, Andrew, what was your vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Todd.
Yes.
Thank you.
Murda.
Yes.
Gary Rubin.
Gary, please unmute.
Yes.
Thank you.
Safia.
Sophia, you're muted.
Yes, I know. I was looking.
I'm sorry, if all the members can just unmute real quick, and then you can go on mute once you've spoken. Kevin Nunez.
Abstain, please.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that the record that I abstain as well.
Okay. Okay, we have 2 abstentions. Did you get them both, Jacinta?
Mm-hmm. Helen.
Okay.
Helen had to leave Jacinta. She didn't feel well.
Right. Elizabeth.
Yes.
Peg.
Aye. Yes.
Cara.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Gwen.
Yes.
Joyce.
Yes.
Phyllis.
Abstain.
Kim.
Yes.
Jacqueline.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. let me just say something and then I'll recognize you, Todd, okay? The draft has been approved and it will be released for public comment as quickly as our dedicated staff can get it formatted. Todd, yes, please.
What I wanted to say was I agree with what Sophia was saying is equality is an important thing because I believe for myself, I treat everybody equally. I love everybody. I don't care if you are black, white, purple, green, orange, whatever. I love everybody. God made me that way and I love everybody.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Yep.
If that were a universal feeling, this would be a much better world.
Yeah,
Sure would be.
Um,
and I gotta leave early because I gotta go get a doctor's appointment.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're running, I guess, 20 minutes late. So I'm going to ask all the committees.
So I'll see you guys later.
Okay, have a great day.
I will. Thank
I'm
you.
going to ask all the committees to cut their comments to 5 minutes. Bob Titus? You're muted. Okay. All right. I would just like to say that clearly 2020 was the most challenging year for all of us. And I'm just absolutely delighted at how successful the council's year has been. I think that's a great tribute to the chairs of all our committees, to all of our members who participated in the committee work, to Mercedes and the staff. I have to say that the creation of the Legislative Caucus has got to be the most life-changing event that the NJCD has ever been associated with. This is just a major step forward. It brings into full view of the legislature the needs of people with disabilities and will lead them to consider our needs before they write bills, before they pass bills, and then when we have to go afterwards and say, well, we were excluded. This is a way of getting full recognition of the needs of people with disabilities. And I can't say how delighted I am that this has been accomplished. And I really look forward, and I encourage everybody to either live stream or look at the archives, but let's all try to keep in our minds the importance of the Legislative Caucus and keep track of what it's doing. We have had less action in contracting because of COVID, but again, I think this is much more important than anything that we've ever done. And hopefully, with vaccinations becoming more readily available, we'll be able to get back to some in-person activities and get back to our grant writing process. But as I'm sure Mercedes will note and did in her report, we did redirect funding that would normally have gone into contractor projects to providing technology supplies for people, so that people living in group homes or in supervised apartments or in their own homes could use the equipment that we provided to access virtual meetings, virtual activities, since so many of our people were in either lockdown in apartments or group homes, or were severely restricted in their activities in their own homes because of fears of contracting the virus. So that's really for me the most important thing, just to thank everybody, because I know that you were all under great stress due to COVID, work requirements, family needs, but you all managed to pitch in and contribute, and I think we had a very successful year, and you'll hear more of this when Diane Riley gives her presentation on the Housing Navigator project. So that's my comment, and we'll shift now to Kara and Bob, if they have any further comments on public policy, or if there are any comments or questions from the council members.
Or do you want me to give a brief update, or just if anybody has any questions or comment?
If you have anything that was not in the report, because I thought the report was very good.
Yeah, the only thing I want to update is just from the following meeting. Part of our action item is that when we discussed some of the COVID-19 bill package, that there was a lot of pending legislation that we discussed. And so our actionable really next steps is that we solicited and requested feedback from all of our committee members so that we could bring that to the stakeholders and actually make them aware of some of the nuances that came to our attention when we were having the meeting. So that's something that we are actively working on, is there is a great deal of COVID related pending bills. So we're working on that, as well as everything else going on that was part of the report. So I just wanted to make that aware to everybody.
Okay, that's great. Peg, did you have any comments? You're muted.
So as usual, Brenda did a fantastic job with our committee report. It kind of speaks for itself. I will add that I appreciate some of the membership has worked on what's called ad hoc committees underneath our subcommittee, specific to targeted work on 2 different issues. And Gwen, I also appreciate very much the support in partnership with the RNJ on those issues. They're all well documented again in this. The only other thing I would say is that we have an eye to the budget as well, to see what the impact on children and youth are going to be, both services and education, because quite a few of the families that we support will probably be looking for some kind of compensatory education. So that's it, unless anybody has a question about the report.
Paul, this is
Yeah,
Bob. Paul.
go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, thank you for your leadership as we've gone forward with this initiative. I want to talk also really briefly, because I know we're really pressed for time. Great leadership and the ability that Kara has shown in working with her on the Public Policy Committee. A couple of the initiatives that we're going forward or hoping to go forward with your approval are collaboration with the Senator Sweeney's office on employment for people with disabilities. We've already done some work with workability, but there needs to be a lot more done with that. And we're also looking to get some more specific recommendations. We don't know what form it'll take yet, but in terms of emergency services for people in crisis who have still not been able to find a system to get their needs addressed within the state of New Jersey. So those are 2 things that we are especially looking to move forward with in the next couple months. And I want to thank Mercedes and all the members of staff. I'm really looking forward to looking at the 5-year plan now. I think that the staff gets a crack at it next. So thank everybody for the hard work they've done so far.
I just wanted to ask you, Bob. The last time I saw Senator Sweeney, and this was just before the pandemic, he mentioned that he was very focused on transportation for people with disabilities. Have you heard anything from him or from his staff in that regard?
Well, we're making inquiries now through ABS as to having meetings in the very near future with Sweeney's staff. He had, as you know, a roundtable on employment. So we went there first, and we're compiling some in effect, a report, because their ask was in the roundtable, give us something to work with, something that's sustainable and something that'll make a difference. So that's what we're looking to address right now. Transportation is certainly another part of that. We don't have as much done on that, but there is some legislation that has already been proposed.
Okay, because the opportunity that
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Peg. I'm sorry.
I would say too, because I was just in another meeting actually yesterday around the design bill, because the design bill has an impact on education and school building, and it also has an impact on transportation. That's Assembly Greenwald's bill. And so I would probably recommend outreaching there as well on the transportation issue. And I did want to say, which I forgot to say, that I commend the council and the partnerships that were garnered to finally form a legislative disability caucus. It's already brought its own rewards, but I think that was some of the best work the council's done all year. So I want to thank you, Mercedes, and the rest of the team for that.
Thank you, Peg. The reason for bringing up transportation, and again, I didn't suggest it to Senator Sweeney. He just started talking to me about it. We were two people in an elevator in the State House. He was just mentioning that because the governor is so committed to spending so much money on transportation infrastructure, that it was a great opportunity to bring forward the needs of people with disabilities for transportation. And again, getting that in at the very start rather than as an afterthought after the governor already has his plans in place.
Absolutely.
Maria, I got a note from Elizabeth that she didn't expect to be available, and that if you had any comments on H&W, you should make them.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Sorry that Elizabeth can't make it. I'm Maria Leary. I was just hired in December as a private consultant to help with health and wellness. So I'm still just kind of catching up, but it's nice to meet all of you. So we had our first health and wellness subcommittee meeting in a while on the 26th. We basically just took an inventory of all of our goals so far and our objectives, and we look like we fulfilled objective 1 and objective 2. So for this next few months, we are going to basically be focusing on objective 3, which is creating a centralized provider list, which I think that's going to be our hardest objective, but it's what we're working on right now. If you look in our report, we have some actions that we've identified that we have broken out there, and we're going to be working with H&S very, very closely, HSS, the HSS work group very closely, and we actually are going to hopefully try to contact and start working with children and youth as well, because we also have a contact with the CHOP UHC contract termination, and we'd really like to partner on that. So, I mean, that's kind of where we are. Everything's in the report. I'm happy to answer some questions if anybody has any.
I just should make up for something that I should have done earlier. I should have introduced Maria. She's a wonderful addition to our staff. She is a PIP graduate, an NJ Lend graduate. She's a parent. She covers all the bases. She's also a wonderful person, and we're just very lucky to have her. So welcome aboard, and thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Next up is Kevin Nunez, Grants Committee report. Are you there, Kevin?
You're mute.
Kevin, you're muted.
Sorry, my phone was
That's okay.
wonky there for a second. I just want to give a quick grant committee report. We've actually reached a very interesting milestone as far as this committee. We actually have no outstanding grants at the moment, because we've kind of finished our grant cycle with the current 5-year plan. This is not to say that work is not being done, because it is. We've just reached a different phase now where we've been monitoring our grantees and seeing where it will go in the future. Our main objective done right now is to monitor, and also as the development of the 5-year plan goes forward, we have to start thinking about how we can possibly use the new 5-year planning goals to issue more grants effectively to disenfranchised communities and things like that. The committee has met monthly. The schedule has been released. So please, committee members, go out and do so, and check your calendars. I believe Jacinta sent out all the calendar information within the last day or so. So make sure your calendar is up to date. I would also recommend that the committee reports in this particular case, since we are meeting virtually, be released on the council website so the public can read them, because I think regarding grants, it's important for the public to see how their tax dollars are being spent. That's it for grants. If you want any specific information, visit our council website for grant information or contact staff.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. We're catching back up to schedule. We're only 6 minutes late. I'd like to call on Diane Riley, the Executive Director of the Supportive Housing Association of New Jersey. This is a really very, very exciting project that they've been doing for us. So I'd like you all to hear about it. Diane, please.
Yes, hello. How are you, everybody? Good morning. I'm not sure if they could put up the couple of pages I sent. It might be helpful, but I want to say thank you first and foremost to the council for providing us with these grant funds. The grant was hugely successful, so I want to highlight some of those successes today for you, so you know how your investment sort of paid off. I do want to say that while we're going to really largely be talking about the Navigator program, there was another little piece of that grant that allowed us to establish a search for housing, and it's on our website. It's a little, hopefully we'll be putting more in there, and we do have to do some more outreach. It's only as good as the housing we come across in terms of availability, but we do hope that what will be unique in that search is that people can put some shared living opportunities in there. So they have upgraded the Housing Resource Center search, so we don't want to, reinvent the wheel, but I think it does do something, and that's on our website. So I'll just say that. So the Housing Navigator program that we developed was really to train professionals, people working in the field, in all aspects of community housing, in order for them to be a resource for people and people with disabilities and families. So what we wanted to do was not just focus on one aspect of housing, but because supportive housing really encompasses services, so much services, all kinds, and I'll talk about some of the topics. So much has to go into actually getting a person housing and really developing homes for what they want, what their desires are, that we developed this system. It was patterned after a program in New York that was developed through the New York Alliance. And that program has been in place for 4 years or more, and they have developed 200 housing professionals that now connect people with housing and are really steeped and educated in so much of these topics. So it's been a great success. That program actually has CEU credits attached to it now, and originally was funded through its first few years through the Medicaid Balance Fund. So it was actually funded through the government. So thank you for funding us in New Jersey. New York Alliance was one of our partners. So let me tell you a little bit about this program. First and foremost, we had 37 people that were accepted into the program. We put out an application process, and then we had to put it out again because obviously with the pandemic, we had to change the design of this educational experience to all virtual, and we had to move it from the spring when this COVID first hit to the fall, but we were able to do it. So we had 37 people accepted. The application required a certain amount of years of experience. We had to have their manager recommend them, so we needed the buy-in from the agency. And there were a few, and we wanted it to be diverse in a few different aspects. Actually, we accepted 37, and 35 students actually enrolled in the program, once the dates were finalized and set for the fall. Our grant required us to train 30 people. We had 32 agencies across the state represented. So we did accept a couple of people from the same agency, but they were in different geographic areas. And that was the maximum we took from any one agency. One interesting fact about this was that we didn't just get people who serve people with intellectual or developmental disabilities. We had a couple of people from MCOs, the managed care organizations. We had several people who served people in communities that were formerly homeless. So we did have the bulk coming from agencies that serve people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but not all. And we're really happy with that because they do serve people not primarily that way, but it really gave us a very diverse class where people shared a lot of their experiences. So we did have the geography represented, North, Central, and South Jersey. And while it wasn't part of the class, because we did not want to make racial diversity a criteria that was hard and fast, because we felt like we needed to make sure we chose people for this very first class who could complete the class because it was part of the grant, and who were dispersed throughout the state. And there were so many other things we needed that we didn't make that a hard and fast criteria, but we did ask the question, a volunteer question about race and ethnicity, and we were happy to report that it was a racially and diverse class. So it did end up being that way. I would like a little more information about what your goal is in that regard for the future, but we were really happy with the class. So the class was executed between September 3rd and October 29th. So that was over an 8-week period. It was all virtual. There were 15 sessions. They were all recorded, which was a benefit because people could rewatch the recordings and do that several times. The material was sometimes, very intense and complex. So sometimes people needed to do that. Also, if people could not attend one or two of the 15 sessions, they could catch up. So we were happy with that in that unintended benefit. Originally, the class was supposed to be some virtual, but 3 full days of in-person class. So that did not happen, obviously. All the materials were put on our website, even materials class participants shared. We had a secure web page on our website where everything, including the recordings, were posted. So let's talk about the sessions. The next page has some of the topics. So and as I said, this was like soup to nuts, everything you could ever want to understand about, providing people with community homes and housing of their dreams. So it started with what has our past been like, and what were some of the policies, and how far have we come in the last 30 or 40 years. We wanted to start with understanding that person-centeredness was at the core of this, and that was not unique to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The New York Alliance had developed some planning tools that are copyrighted, but we were able to use, which was really helpful, which was more or less Excel spreadsheets where you plug things in, and would help some of the participants use those tools going forward in their work with people. And we also had some case studies. We started with Social Security and benefits and earnings. We looked at how you begin to plan different housing options. We invited, and you're going to see why, all the guest lecturers that we were able to include in this. We did have a lot of people from different divisions across the state come and share their expertise. And we looked at all of it: waivers, how to find apartments, the different vouchers, the legal aspects, credit history, you name it, assistive technology. You see all the topics here. They were really, really amazing. And by the end of it, they all built And I think people, and we know that by the comments, people came away with an amazing amount of information, and certainly it elevated their professional experience. So if you look at the next page, I'm going to just mention, we show you all of the lecturers that came and spoke. They were all guest lecturers, and you can really see how many people we involved from the Department of Human Services, from the Social Security Administration, from different agencies across the board, different professionals, Department of Community Affairs. I think one of the greatest things of this, I'll tell you a few things that came out of it. First and foremost, people really got to know what the divisions do. If you think everybody knows exactly what the divisions do and what work goes on under those things, you're wrong. They don't know. Even if they've been working a few years, they're not quite sure who works for who and what those divisions actually have authority over. So one great thing was that as we asked and needed to have them come in to talk about their topics, we had to go out and really connect with these different divisions, and people got to know who they were and they have their contacts. And it was amazing. That was really something we really didn't think about, but people really got their experience about knowing, and learning about, our government and how it works and how it plays into all of this. The other thing that was really great, and I will say Amy Scartosi from DDD really was very helpful in getting us the buy-in of the division and also their support. What we wanted them to do was talk about specific topics such as for coordination, the housing vouchers that they do, and SHC does, and various other topics, the waivers, etc. And what they were able to do was actually record their topics so they could use those recordings in their outreach to the state and other agencies and other people. So because we asked them to do this, they took a moment to develop their own resources that now will be used across the board. So I feel like you need to know that what this did was a ripple effect. This grant had a ripple effect, and that this is going to go on, and it actually improved the state and their delivery of services. So I thought that was pretty exciting. So let me tell you what happened at the end of it. The next page will tell you. Out of the 35 students that were accepted into the program, 33 people completed the training. That is, they attended the classes, they were engaged, and they actually completed it. 2 people just never kind of got into the class. They could never make it. They never started it really. So we would say that we trained 33 people on the 15 classes and the 35 hours of training. Part of the requirements of the class was that they would do some homework, that they had certain assignments. And unfortunately, not everybody completed those assignments, and I couldn't make them do it. But we did not. So what we said was, we would give people a certificate of completion at the end of this. It wasn't, didn't have any authority except it said SHA gives you this certificate of completion, and it was a nice certificate. It wasn't a CEU credit or anything, but we did not give all the people that certificate because we felt like we had to honor the people who actually did the assignments, and we weren't expecting that people wouldn't complete them. So what we did was we gave everybody, the 33 people, a letter that said they completed these many hours of training because we felt like they did that and they could use that as evidence that they had done extra training. But we did not, and we will take those completed assignments anytime, but they have not completed those few assignments. And part of the issue, I think, was that in New York, they do those assignments in a group, and they are able to form those groups in person and bond and divvy up the work. And we were not able to get that to happen. And so I think it was perhaps a little more on one person to complete them, although we didn't feel they were particularly onerous, but that is part of the issue. So we would change it in the future to make that a little bit easier. So what is on our webpage under Housing Navigators, which is posted on our webpage, are on the page itself is all of the people who completed the assignments, their contacts, and then we have a PDF that opens with the rest of the people then said, these people did complete the training and they are open to support you and here are their things. So we made a little bit of a differentiation. We didn't know how else to do it. So we had a pre and post survey that we did. We pre and post class test. That's how we evaluated some of the learning. So we know that the test scores were improved by 10%. The highest test score went from 88 to 100. And the mean grade improved by 5 points, which was pretty good, we felt. People don't like taking tests, we realize that, but they did. We did put an evaluation out. We had 21 people complete the evaluation. 21, all of them said they learned, essentially. They strongly agreed that their knowledge was increased. And then, of course, we got a lot of comments. You can read them here. And the best comment was the first one I put, just a lot of effusive comments. I just chose a few. But the first one actually shows me that we actually completed what we set out to do. The housing navigation course puts the many different puzzle pieces together to finding housing for people with disabilities in a condensed format. That's what we wanted to do. We know it doesn't exist anywhere else, and we know we did that. And you can just read the comments for yourself. I'm sure you have these in your packet. We were really, really, really happy with the way it turned out. I think we were all very enthusiastic. Our students felt the enthusiasm. And what they want, and we're going to come back to you for a little money to do this, what they want is that they would be in a cohort, the first cohort. They want to keep in touch. They want some additional training, and they want to find a way to work together across the state. So we're going to continue this, and we hope you'll allow us to do that with a little bit more funding. And we know that that will really increase people's ability to find housing and get better supports. We know that in New York, they do that. So we'd like to continue to do that. And we want to sustain this course to go on. We love more funding to do another round. What we'd like to do and what I think we can do is to figure out the pieces that are not unique to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, which I think is about 2/3 of the material, and then put additional pieces together for different groups that would be unique. So have a bigger, larger class with some breakouts to specific information. And to me, when you cross-pollinate like that, it just elevates the whole system and brings the silo government we have, breaks down those barriers. So we're pretty excited. We're going to look to do that. In New York, they were funded for several years. And now they charge for funding. I don't think we can do that unless we have a couple more classes under our belt. And then we would have to figure out how does this fit with the Boggs Center, and or how does it get supported at the state level? How can they promote this? We need buy-in from them. So there's work to be done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane. I should have really given you more of an introduction. Diane in Shaw, New Jersey are a tremendous asset to the state of New Jersey, and especially to anyone who has a disability. Shaw is a combination of developers, providers, government people, advocacy organizations, self-advocates, all coming together under Diane's leadership to increase the supply of housing for people with disabilities, and also providing services that they need and supports that they need so they can live successfully in those housing, generally apartments that are created. And she and the Shaw board have been leaders in advocacy, very effective advocates, very persistent advocates, I might say.
Thank you.
We're just delighted to have the opportunity to interact with them. I would also mention that Bob Titus serves as co-chair of the advocacy committee at Shaw. So he keeps us in very close contact with Shaw. So we're always aware of what's going on there. And Mercedes and I attend the bi-monthly Shaw meetings and attend with Bob the annual conference, which they do. And this is the first year that I didn't get a chance to congratulate you on a wonderful conference because I didn't get to see you.
I know.
But it was another wonderful conference. Every year, Diane manages to outdo last year's conference, which was always the best one previously. So thank you very much.
Diane, there is a question.
Yeah.
There is a question. Andrew asks, what were the assignments that participants were
That's
given?
a good question, Andrew. Thank you. So they were case studies. We asked them to read a couple of case studies and pick one and then develop a plan for that person. And it really was flexible. We gave you some details, but it allowed them to, what we thought would be, and they did, was to put pieces of what they learned into that plan as to why they would, use those things. And they could develop it as much as they wanted to, so it was really pretty flexible. And then they had to use the planning module, the Excel spreadsheet, to put together, a budget and how that would work. So there was a few things there. People have different experiences in school and learning. And also these people were professionals working and trying to fit these classes in. And it was a big commitment. So I think if we had done it in a group, as Deb Worland, who really was the project manager here, she took the class from New York and she was in a group and she only had to do a piece of her homework because the group divvied up. And I didn't really realize that until we were into it. And we really didn't think it was going to affect the homework, but it did a little bit. And that's the learning, we learned.
So there wasn't like a big paper or anything with a...
No, they had to write, they had to write a couple of, and I could certainly send you something without the names and stuff, but they had to write a couple of pages and explain why they chose this person and what the issues were with that person and what they wanted to do. And then they had to do the budgetary thing. Yeah, it wasn't like, we didn't think it was a big deal. I think some of it was just anxiety in doing it. And part of it was that they finished the classwork and it was a lot to keep up with. And then it was Christmas and you have to realize it was November and it was December and they were trying to catch up with their work and it just got away from them. And the longer and longer they didn't submit it, the harder it was to have them do it. You know how people procrastinate and they don't do it again?
Yeah, I'm in that boat.
Yes. Yes, you remember that, right? So everybody was like, yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, I'll get to it. And then it was just, and since they didn't pay for it, like, I couldn't make them do it. I just, but 23 did do it. It was only 10 who didn't. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, in addition to what you mentioned, my involvement with SHA, Mercedes has also assigned me the oversight as a staff member to the SHA Navigator project, and it's been a terrific experience. I wanted to just thank again Diane for her advice in forming some of our decision-making with the Disabilities Collaborative in terms of diversifying our membership. And I also wanted Diane maybe just really quickly to talk a little bit about Deb Worland's background. I know Deb has, I think she's presented before the council before, but if you would again, I think the success of this project has a lot to do with who worked on it.
Absolutely. Deb is an amazing person. She has worked with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities for like 30 or more years, probably 40. And she was the head of the Monmouth County ARC for, a long, long time. She ran that. And then she was the commissioner of DDD for a while. I mean, the director and for a little while. And now she does consulting and she wrote the our housing guide, basically. She was the consultant on our housing guide. She has worked on all of the resources we developed. She also did a best practices report. All of this is on our website. So she has worked with SHA for many, many years. with the council's grants, and I love working with her. We both still learn something from each other. I just can't say enough about her professionalism. And now she consults. I mean, she consults on so many things, but she consults with developers. If you look on our videos, which again, the council provided our funding for, if you look on the Arc of Essex video in the housing in Union County on our video, it's a multi-unit large project. She was the consultant on that, and she's in the video. So you can see what she explains, what she brought to the table in bringing everybody together. So she does that kind of consulting. You know, she consults on finding leadership, executive search, on, you know, other arcs and various other things. So she's a great, great resource and a wonderful, wonderful professional to work with.
Peg,
Yeah, I just
you
had
had
a
a hand up.
Right. I just had a brief comment. First, Diane, this is so impressive.
Oh.
You know, what fantastic work, a robust curriculum, all those different I wish I would have been able to take that myself. So kudos to you. And again, back to the council, I think this is why it's so important for us to hear from projects that we support and grantees, because besides lifting up the different projects, it so informs our work moving forward. And so all I want to say was thank you. Thanks for the presentation, and thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you, Peg. We go back a long way. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. One thing I will say is, just so you know, like we had Ken Regan, he's a developer. He was part of the presenters as a professional, and he works in New York. And he said he has hired people who took their class and how much they have brought in their experience to his development. So you can kind of see, you know, it just does have that kind of ripple effect to see where that goes.
And we all know the importance of housing. It's perhaps the most basic need. If you don't have housing, you don't have a life.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, I can't think of anything more important than what Shaw does.
Thank you. And thanks again for that, the Disability Caucus. It is the best thing. It is so great. It's going to really have policy implications, very impactful policy implications for the future. Congratulations.
Yeah, we also have to thank the council in the state of Ohio, because this was their idea.
Hey, we all share our ideas.
Yep. The best ideas you get from other people who face the same challenges that you do. Kevin, we're really pressed for time. As you know, we have a caucus meeting with the self-advocates the night before the council meetings, and one of the self-advocates will speak to the full council and review what was discussed at the self-advocates meeting. It's Kevin's turn, so he will do that. If you can do it in 5 minutes, I'd be very, very grateful.
I'll do my best. No promises. First off, I have to say thank you to the council. I think it's a really good idea to have grantees present, because so often we get asked, well, what does the council do? And some of our own council members don't really know what we do. And this is a good way of showing them how our funds get spent. Moving on to the Advocate Caucus. Feel free, any of my fellow individuals, to chime in here at any time if you want. I really think that this Advocate Caucus laid groundwork for the future of our advocates, not just on the council, but statewide, because we realized in the course of the conversation that one of the key components of the disability community, the advocate portion, has been left out. The council has the diane for the providers. They have the family support planning councils for the parents, and they have the legislative caucus for the legislative side. But the advocates have kind of fallen by the wayside, and they're kind of the main piece. So to that end, I'm going to talk to Frank and Mercedes and develop a sort of a standing advocate committee so we can collaborate with other advocates across the state so we can inform the council on their projects as to what they want to do moving forward. Here's a good example. Um, while the Disability Caucus is wonderful, without question, we didn't use any of the contacts from our advocates. Uh, we all know advocates have some of the best relationships with legislators, but they weren't really brought in from point A. So we're gonna really try to get advocates started with council work from A to Z, as one of the advocates put it. We're also gonna try to individualize um, PIP graduates and talk to them after they're done graduating. Um, Find out what their interests are, what they want, what they can do, what they can't do, and kind of coach them into different advocacy avenues, and kind of gear them in the direction that we think is best for them and best for the council. Um, I think we have laid the groundwork with our advocates to move stuff forward, and I think I'm really excited for what the advocates can do if we work together. And I really look forward to working with Frank and Mercedes to develop this advocate committee and more individualized planning process for our advocates that are graduated from PIP or whatever have you. Um, with that being said, if any of the other advocates want to share anything, please feel free to do so.
I just want to thank Kevin. I have to say that this is something that Kevin has been pushing for basically as long as I've known him, and I feel somewhat guilty. We had really planned on accomplishing a lot of this last year, and the pandemic and the inability to meet in person made it very, very difficult. And I guess we, at the start of the pandemic, really had no idea how long it would last. But this is not something that just came up last night. This is something that Kevin has been advocating for again for as long as I've known him, and I'm certainly committed to the extent possible to let Kevin make this happen. So this is something that is very, very high priority. We owe it to the self-advocates to do all that Kevin suggests we need to do for them. So thank you, Kevin, as always. And next up on the schedule is our esteemed executive director with her executive director's report.
Well, thank you, Paul. And just I want to say congratulations to the council on moving the proposed 5-year plan to the next level. We are eager and will work very hard to get that out for public comment just as soon as we're able. I always kind of get the end of the meeting, and I know I want to leave room for the final public comment and last order of business, but you have a full report in your packets. I'll just say that, the pandemic has certainly put us in a position of finding new ways of meetings, of conducting business. And while we haven't figured that all out completely yet, we're certainly striving and trying to make sure that all of our activities as staff at the council and the opportunities for what's been very robust committee meetings, ad hoc committee meetings, subcommittee meetings will take place and have taken place in ways that we never really expected or experienced before. I'm really appreciative to folks at all levels for that support. And we've seen it through our grantees. Diane, thank you. Your ability to reshape a contract that was awarded pre-pandemic and having that level of success is really phenomenal. And I'll say that for all the grantees, and in your packet report is all our current grants. Every single one has had to adapt in some way to ensure that the contracted deliverables have been met. And we are delighted that we've been able to actually accomplish that with them and their efforts. The packet also contains a list of the CIP, the Community Innovation Projects, and the CIP, Community Innovation projects that were specific to COVID-19. So I encourage you to look at your packet for that information. If I could just then take a minute to focus on the New Jersey Legislative Disability Caucus, because we've heard a lot of compliments around this this meeting, but you know, I couldn't be prouder for the efforts that have gone into making this possible, even though it was a pre-COVID idea and suggestion from Ohio about 2 years ago that we heard at a national conference. The fact that we were able to engage our community, advocates, family members, organizations, disability organizations, and not just within the IDD space, but across organizations. The fact that we were able to pull that together and have the legislature ready to take on something when really a lot of what we've heard from advocates and family advocates is that they were challenged themselves with their attention and their focus. So the fact that we had Senate President Sweeney immediately embrace and move forward during the pandemic, and 29 other members of our legislature is a remarkable accomplishment. I couldn't be prouder. I'm appreciative to the council staff, Bob and Gary, who you know, were the behind the scenes, if you will, and in front of the scenes, making sure this came about. I'm also appreciative of the advocates who stepped forward to speak. And Kevin, you were on the kickoff event back in December. We had a host of other advocates participating in that event, and Steve Gruslavic spoke at the first kickoff session. Again, the focus, the attention, the enthusiasm couldn't be better. We do have a New Jersey Legislative Disability Caucus page on the NJCDD website for now. We hope that this will be taken over at some point by the Legislative Caucus themselves, but there are ways to sign up to be a supporting organization, sign up for additional information as sessions are announced. The next session will be on April 27th at noon, and the focus at this point is around employment and employment disparities and employment outcomes and options that I know Bob and one of our interns is working very hard on pulling some information together right now. So please check out the page. You can link to the two recordings of the first, the opening session, kicking off the caucus, and the session that was just held on January the 26th. And then sign up to tune in for future caucus events. Let me see if there's anything that I also wanted to pull out. I just wanted to also state that we did put out an RFP back in I guess in November, I don't know, time kind of all melds together during this period. But we had an RFP out.
It was the end of October. It was the end of October.
Thank you, Kevin. The end of last year around employment. And unfortunately, and I would suspect pandemic influenced, we did not have responses that we could evaluate to award a contract. So we are in the process right now of completing the objectives of that, what was included in that RFP, which was basically to develop a framework to advance New Jersey's policies and practices around employment initiatives, delivering a comprehensive and authoritative white paper and an action-oriented plan for advocacy and systems change around employment. So instead of the RFP that we intended, we are working at the council with Rebecca Novemsky leading the charge, and Brenda Considine has assisted us. Jody will be working with the project as well in making sure that we are able to deliver this project with the help of the Heldrick Center for Workforce Development at the School of Planning and Public Policy at Rutgers. And they will work in partnership with the Institute for Community Inclusion at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, Research and Training Institute, on helping us achieve the deliverables anticipated in that RFP last year. So more to come on that. And I expect that we will have a final product by the conclusion of our current 5-year period, which is September 30th of this year. Thank you, Paul, for introducing Maria. I wanted to make sure we did that on this call. And let's see. Also at the federal level, we are still in a continuing resolution. We don't have our final funding for the 2021 period. We also were just recently notified that there have been some delay in federal payments. So we're waiting for those to be resolved. Other than that, our Administration on Community Living has also posted notice that the way in which we will report is changing. So a few things happening there that are also keeping us busy on adapting to what their requirements are and making sure that we are all in line. And so I'll finish there. Paul, I know you have some other business. Any questions, you can always reach out to me. Be happy to talk to any of you.
Okay, I've got just a few things to do, but before that, I want to take the opportunity, since Jonathan is on my screen and Gwen is next to him on my screen, and I basically brought up the same subject to the two of them in the last 2 days. Since we had the discussions about how individuals in congregate settings would be treated after they had the COVID vaccines and had achieved immunity. Yesterday, CDC put out different guidelines where they noted that individuals who had 2 doses and had reached immunity would not be subject to the quarantine requirements that had previously been employed. And as I had mentioned, when an individual with developmental disabilities is taken out of a congregate setting, even if just for a trip to a physician or a dentist, the requirement has been that the individual would be quarantined in their bedroom for 14 days. I'm on the board of a provider organization. We serve about 220 people. I don't think there are as many as 2 of them, probably none, who could survive 14 days in quarantine in their bedroom. So essentially, it has meant that they've been in lockdown for 11 months. And we had hoped that there would be some liberalization when individuals, and as noted on Tuesday, significantly over 90% of the people living in congregate settings in DD licensed facilities have been approved by their guardians or family members or themselves, if they could give informed consent, to get the vaccine. So we were really hoping that individuals who had both vaccine dosages and had gone for 2 weeks and had achieved immunity would be allowed to be taken out of the group home or supervised apartment for a visit to a dentist, a doctor, or maybe just a walk around a park, and then could go back into their group home. So we're really hoping, Jonathan and Gwen, that DOH will seriously consider the new CDC guidelines. I understand that this is not a DDD issue, that you have to wait for DOH to take action, but we're kind of hoping that some advocacy can be done to prod DOH to consider the needs of our population. That's all I had. I don't expect an answer. Just that I will be nudging you in the future, just as a warning, Jonathan. Okay. I have a couple of public comments, which I'm going to read. Let me get them on my screen. This is a very important one from Monique Wilson. I'm glad that this came up. Her comment is, access to housing is also an issue that disproportionately affects Black and Brown people first and foremost, then double impact of being a person with disabilities. Should include goals around access to fair housing of choice. This is something that is very important to us, and it goes well beyond us. This is something that the federal government is supposed to be enforcing through HUD. I recall, and again, I picked this up at a meeting that Diane ran I think it was Diane, or it might have been before Diane became the executive director of Shaw, but Shaw had the head of HUD from New Jersey, from New York. It covered the region that included New Jersey. And she pointed out that it was her responsibility as the senior HUD person to enforce the fair housing regulations. So we need to make sure that the federal government, since they have the authority, is always out there making sure that everybody has equal access to housing. You know, we can advocate for people with developmental disabilities, but this is a universal issue. Everybody, whether they have disabilities or not, should have equal access to housing. There should not be redlining, and this is really a national need. And you know, we're committed to doing what we can, but we recognize that we need to work with state partners and federal partners to make sure that this becomes a reality. So thank you, Monique. I think that's a very important comment. This is a comment from Fanny Ochoa. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. I do know somebody who spells their name the same way and they pronounce it Ochoa, so I'm assuming that I'm doing that correctly. Moving forward, can the barriers be removed for the public to be able to make comments without having to jump through hoops, emails, Facebook, YouTube, etc.? This is particularly difficult for individuals that are not tech savvy or who are limited by the device they are using. A direct link to the Zoom meeting would work well. I think this is a good comment, and I'm very distressed, and I know we all are, at the difficulty people have had accessing this meeting and making comments. I will take responsibility. This is the first time we've used Zoom, and our staff is just getting acclimated to using it. We have to do a better job, and I'm sure that we will. We've got 3 months until the next meeting, and I'm sure our capable staff will be working to get the bugs out of the system. But please bear with us. This is the first time we've used Zoom for a council meeting. I've got a series of comments from Sharon Tejada. Let me read them. I hope I'm reading them in the proper order. Good morning. I am concerned that the issues we discussed are not being displayed here. This does not allow for the equity we discussed. The second one, equity involves trying to understand and give people what they need to enjoy full, healthy lives. Equality, in contrast, aims to ensure that everyone gets the same things in order to enjoy full lives. The third comment is, like equity, equality aims to promote fairness and justice, but it can only work if everyone starts from the same place and needs the same things. I don't really disagree with anything said here, but I don't know that in my terms, I don't think that's inconsistent with equality. Equality doesn't mean that everybody gets the same things. As we've noted with DDD, everybody gets their own assessment, everybody gets their own tier assignment, everybody gets their own budget, and the budgets are based upon need, and then the individual service plans for each individual are based on the budget and the need. So I'm not sure that I would grant that equality is inconsistent with what we're trying to achieve here. And
Paul,
equality.
if I may,
Can I finish, Kevin, and then you can speak?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that equality is not sufficient, and I think that equality doesn't necessarily mean that everybody gets the same things. It can mean that everybody gets what they need. Again, you know, it's very political right now, and the difference between equality and equity. And I don't really think that the way we use equality is inconsistent with equity and fairness. Kevin, go ahead.
This is exactly why we really need our community, our people that we represent, to reach out to us so we can understand and we can better ourselves as a council and evolve as a council to meet the evolving needs of the people we were chosen to represent. We have to always remember that we were chosen by the governor to represent a specific population or populations. So we always have to keep that in mind. So please feel free to reach out to us at any time, especially when it comes to this 5-year plan.
Yes, again, it's very important that you all understand that we welcome comments. The only way we can do our job, and our job here is to represent people with developmental disabilities and their families and to serve them. And we can't do that appropriately unless we know what your needs are. And we really do appreciate any comments, either praising us if we do something right or condemn us if we do something wrong. But more importantly, give us your best ideas, because we're not going to come up with the best ideas, but we want to implement the best ideas wherever they come from.
And they also have to know that we're willing to evolve with them as well.
Yes, I think clearly that's a commitment we have. I've got one more thing to mention. The state of New Jersey has a elaborate ethics arrangement, and there's an ethics commission, and the person on our staff who's responsible for ethics training is Jacinta, and she is arranging for a virtual session where someone from the ethics commission will enlighten us and teach us on what the state ethics requirements are. Previously, we had done this individually online, but I think it's much better if we can do it with a teacher, so that if a question comes up, we can ask the person who's doing the training the question and make sure that everybody hears the same answer and everybody is updated. It's very important, since we are a public body. Our members are all nominated by the governor and confirmed by the state Senate. It's very important that we're all aware of the ethics requirements for us. And it's very important that we all act in accordance with them. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that and make certain that you are available and put this in your schedule, because we all really need to do this. If you correct me if I'm wrong, Jacinta, but I believe we're required to submit our documents annually in May. So you want to make sure that we can all be updated on the ethics requirements before we do our disclosure forms. Is Gary sending me some more comments?
I think it was that he just sent you a repeat of one of the ones that you just read, Paul. But can we just also reiterate, April 8th at 1 p.m. is the date of the ethics training. It'll be a council training meeting. It's not a public meeting. It's April 8th at 1 p.m. Please mark your calendars, and Jacinta will send out the notice.
Yeah, it really is important that everybody attend, because I mean, this has not been done in the time that I've been on the council. This is the first time I'll have the opportunity to do this, and I think it's very, very important that we're all aware of what the ethics requirements are.
Yeah. Paul, can I ask a quick question on that? Nobody has the answer now, but if you could circle back on me. I have to do that for another commission that I'm on. And I just want to know if I have to do it once or if I have to do it for every single thing where I have to do it. So Mercedes looks like she knows the answer to that question.
No, you can just do it once, Gwen. Just on your form, make sure you note the date.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I want to thank everybody, council members, members of the public, and again, apologize for the difficulties in making comments. I mean, ideally, we will be back in person at some time this year when members of the public will be able to stand up and directly speak their own comments, direct them to whoever they want to, and get a response, whether it's a council member responding or whether it's a member of the council representing a state agency, or one of our partners. So please bear with us. We're struggling to get this right. We will get it right, but I just want to assure everybody that we do welcome all the comments that we get. Kevin?
I just wanted to reiterate to the advocates, as we move forward with our plans, please feel free to reach out to me so we can work together and collaborate together. I want to make sure no one is left behind. So please call me or email me, whatever works best for you. I will be available for that. And also, if anyone's interested, I just released a second manifesto. If you want to read that, please feel free to email me as well. It's a good way to get the inner workings of the advocate mind, so to speak, as my dad put it. So
Okay. Okay.
Paul, I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'm sorry.
No,
what is
Peg has
the
a
length
comment.
of the
Oh,
ethics
okay.
training? I got the 1 o'clock. Is it an hour? Is it? I just want to block it off now.
Do you know, Jacinta, how long it takes?
I do not. I'm gonna touch base with her today, and the Zoom meeting should go out today so calendars can be filled.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody else have a comment, or can we ask for a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll also second the motion.
No.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Andrew makes the motion, Kevin seconds the motion. I think we'll just take a raising of the hands or the yeses. Okay, thank you, Walt.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.